Welcome back to yet more alpine misery. Since you last heard from me, temperatures very briefly dipped back down towards something resembling normality. Indeed, we even had a couple of days of snow down to around about 3,500 metres, maybe 10 to 15 centimetres up at the Guide du Midi, but it didn't last. It was never going to last. It's made absolutely zero difference to the state of the glaciers or the stability of the high mountains. Basically, as soon as it stopped snowing, temperatures shot right back up again and it's all melted. And we went right back in to another heat wave, the fourth of the season already, and it's still only the start of August. In all likelihood, the freezing levels rose above the summit of Mont Blanc for the first time this year on more than one occasion last week. They probably haven't topped out above 5,000 metres yet. Previous summers they have, briefly, been up to about 5,100 metres. So we haven't reached those really extreme temperatures yet. It's been the consistency of the heat that has been the problem. Throughout this summer, indeed since the second half of May really, freezing levels have been above 4,500 metres, probably more often they've been below 3,500 metres. I don't know if that's an official statistic, but I check the forecast every day, and that's certainly in line with what has been forecast. But what I do know officially is this has been the third hottest July on record here in Chamonix, and the hottest July on record down in Annecy. And what you'll notice from this graph is that every single July in the last 10 years has been above average. Most of them have been well above average. This is not just natural variability, this is undeniable trend. It's a steady march towards annihilation basically. It's also been incredibly dry. Yes, we have had a lot of thunderstorms, but as I explained before, that's not bringing new moisture into the catchment. That's just simply the moisture evaporating from the ground, going up into form clouds, falling back down again. We've had very little frontal rainfall throughout the whole summer, so not only is it hot, it's also very, very dry, which causes its own problems. And we are very much on course for this to be both the hottest and driest summer on record in this part of the Alps. And it's certainly proving to be the worst alpine summer on record in terms of the conditions. For perhaps the first time ever, well in human history anyway, the famous snow patch on the niche of the north face of the Dru is all but gone. It may well be completely gone. This picture is from several weeks ago now, so in all likelihood that last bit of remaining snow has disappeared, which, like I say, that's probably never happened in human history, or at least in the history of alpinism. And equally shocking, again perhaps the first time ever, they've had to close the snow tunnel leading out onto the arête from the Guide du Midi down onto the glacier, because the ice above the roof of the tunnel has just become too unstable, too dangerous. For a while they were advising people not to gear up and to take their crampons off in the tunnel, to do it inside the Guide du Midi, to spend as little time as possible standing underneath the ice, but now they have completely closed it. Initially it was due to be closed just for one day, yesterday, to carry out stabilisation work. They've had to close it for at least one more day because they didn't finish the stabilisation work yesterday, so that in itself is pretty unprecedented. That means that there is in effect no way down to all of the climbs that you access from the Guide du Midi. And the truly sombering thing is that some of that ice which formed the ice cave is thousands, if not tens of thousands of years old, and it's gone just like that, never to come back again in our lifetimes. It takes years to form glacial ice, and again, decades if not hundreds of years to form that amount of glacial ice. We will never see that again now in our lifetimes. Of course, it will snow again, it will fill in again, but snow is not ice, it is not as stable, it will not last as long, and like I say, it will just never be the same again up there as it was before this summer. And as for the arête itself, that is now virtually all black ice, so the guides are recommending that only people who have competent cramponing skills and indeed sharp, good quality crampons can go up and down the arête, which means no more strolling down there in my soft boots to bring you these alpine reports. And there appears to now be a huge patch of black ice near the usual gear up spot at the end of the ridge as well. So all in all, conditions up there have been absolutely obliterated this year. The glacier up at the Tour has deteriorated a lot since my last video. It had been holding out pretty well, all things considered, but it's now become very problematic to access the Guide du Tour. Indeed, it may well be completely impossible now. There are a number of crevasses which completely block the entire route, which you were able to jump across them, but they're only going to have got bigger and bigger in the last few days, so like I say, it may well be impossible to actually access and descend the Guide du Tour. Crossing of the Vallée Blanche has also deteriorated a lot. It's now incredibly difficult to access the multi-tackle satellites, such as the Petit and Grand Capuchin, from the French side. If you're wanting to climb in that area, it's best accessed from the Italian side. But even that is not straightforward. And the Voie Normale on Mont Blanc itself is still completely impassable. Nobody's attempted to bridge the crevasses with a ladder. Indeed, looking at it from these photos, you'd need one hell of a ladder to get anywhere close to be able to bridge these crevasses, so I doubt anyone's going to even attempt it this season. And on the Italian side of Mont Blanc, the Aosta guides have now stopped working the Gonella route up Mont Blanc, which is the Voie Normale from the Italian side effectively. It's just too dry, the crevasses are too open, glaciers are too complex, it's just too dangerous. I think the hut might still be open, so you can still do it if you wish, by your own steam. But yeah, just like with the Matterhorn, if the local guides aren't doing it, that tells you everything you need to know really. You shouldn't be doing it. And speaking of the Matterhorn, it appears the local guides had started working it again after the brief cold spell we had, which brought a little bit of snow on the mountain, stabilised things a little bit. One of my friends was there, well actually a couple of my friends were on it just in the last week. One of them from the Italian side, one of them from the Swiss side. And the friend doing it from the Swiss side said there was around 72 people attempting it from the Hornley hut, of which probably only 4 were unguided. So even the Swiss guides themselves weren't working at it, still loads of guides were working on the mountain. But it is still incredibly dry. It's snow free from bottom to top. You do not need action crampons for the Hornley Ridge, and it is just a big pile of choss. So even if the guides have started working again, you do still need to be incredibly careful. It's just loose blocks everywhere. It's basically a big tottering pile of Jenga blocks.
Yeah, it wasn't a river you wanted to fall into necessarily either. It was pretty raging.
If you want to go ahead and drop it down the gully. I think there might be some higher ones.
Might be some higher ones, right? Tell me the most famous.
Definitely not most famous.
Tell me the most the horniest of the horns.
Quite horny.
Oh, they went to the Italian side too. Woohoo!
But the lack of snow is leading for favourable conditions for very, very fast ascents for those with the correct skills and ability. My other friend who did it from the Italian side, she set possibly fastest known time from Cervinia to summit and back in 7.5 hours. And that would not be possible if there was still snow on the route. So silver linings and all that, the lack of snow does mean you can travel incredibly quickly if you are good enough. And back to Italy, the Aosta guides have also stopped working on the Typhon-Matten Ridge on the Dent Terrens, which is the de facto normal route up and down the Dent Terrens from the Italian side in summer these days. The traditional normal routes are just totally impossible in summer. There's no snow on them anymore. So the Typhon-Matten Ridge, which is always very chossy, is now even more chossy, even more loose, even more dangerous. So the guides are staying away from that too, so you probably should also. And for anybody interested in the Alpine 4000ers, these are the current, or indeed recent conditions on the Voie Normale of the Weissmais and also the Barre des Écrins, which are usually snowplods up glacier. But as you can see, it's incredibly messy, bare ice a lot of the way. I would not be touching either of these routes with a barge pole. They're routes which you need to be able to move quickly on to get out of the firing line of overhanging seracs, and when conditions like that, you cannot move quickly enough for it to be safe and feasible, so again, stay away. And back on our home turf, the Dom de Miage and Aiguille Bionassi, which had been our last bastions of good alpine conditions in the region, are now also suffering. They are still possible, people are still doing them, and if you do want to get out into the high alpine around here, they probably still are your best bet, but you are now going to encounter increasingly long stretches of bare ice, which may well require pitching and placing ice screws. And again, you need good cramponing technique and probably sharp crampons and sharp axes. Might even be worth carrying too. And the Briard Ridge, again on the Italian side of Mont Blanc, is now virtually completely dry. But being dry often makes the climbing easier, even if it is more dangerous and more chossy. So we have been seeing a number of quite quick ascents there too. But for those wanting to do it at a more traditional pace, there's now no water available between about 2,100 meters and the Col de Briard at about 3,200. So make sure you plan accordingly, fill up your water bottles at the last available location, and you'll need to mount snow from then on in once you reach the col. But thankfully there still is plenty of snow around the usual bivvy spots on the route, so you can still mount snow for water. Obviously, it's not just the alpine climbing that's taken a battering this summer. Also, the summer ski seasons have been absolutely obliterated too. You may be thinking, So what? Who wants to go skiing in summer? But you can, normally, and people do. It's an invaluable training resource for all the pros and elites, not to mention people like me who want to be able to ski year round. I was due to announce in this video that Zermatt is now last man standing, the only place in the Alps offering year-round skiing. But they too have also had to stop offering skiing for everybody except just the Swiss national ski team. This is only the second time in their history that they've had to close in summer for an extended period. Yes, previous summers in the past they have shut for the occasional day here and there when it's just too hot, the lifts become too unstable, but it has still been possible to ski as soon as temperatures have dropped. But this year, I mean, the snow's just basically all gone. So until there's significant snowfalls again, they're going to have to remain closed, and that will be weeks, not days. There is still summer skiing available on the glacier in Saas-Fee, but they don't open year round. They shut for a large chunk of the spring and again in the autumn as well. So we have lost our year-round skiing in the Alps, which is pretty significant. And these are the conditions on the glacier of the Passo del Salvio ski area, which is only open in summer, and they've had to close for probably a number of weeks now. Their season runs from May through to November, but this year they've only been able to operate for a month or two, which has massively hit their finances in a resort which is already struggling to cope and struggling to invest in their infrastructure. So it's really not a good sign for them. Back in the here and now, I wish I could bring you some slightly more positive news, but it really is miserable here. There's no sign of any meaningful precipitation or any significantly colder temperatures anytime soon. Yes, temperatures are dipping ever so slightly, but they are still above average. It is still staying very hot. And for the foreseeable, we are still dominated by high pressure. Any rainfall and snow we're likely to get is going to be from thunderstorms, convection rainfall. So conditions really aren't going to be improving anytime soon. Couple that with the fact that it is peak summer holidays now. August in Chamonix, you can't move. So in all honesty, if you're not here already, don't come. Save your money, go somewhere else, or save your efforts for another day. As I said before, go to the beach instead. Just sack off alpinism for this summer. What's left of the mountains will still be here next year. Right now, it's really not worth coming. But if you do insist on coming, or if you are already here, then check out my recent video of my top 5 climbs to do in the Chamonix Valley in a heatwave. Because there is still plenty to do here, but of course, the few routes which are still acceptable and in condition are going to be very, very busy.